Very well, they said kufa makanga kufa dereva. They said uwezi kutoa trouser kama hujatoa, uwezi kutoa boxer kama hujatoa trouser. So that's the message, and it stays the same. But going back to the messaging, I think the deputy president is doing a great job, and I totally love it because we need someone at least who can speak to the president directly. We haven't had that for a little while. It's good to have a leader who can lecture him. He did the same to President Uhuru for nearly 10 years. So we also need. It's good for him to get a taste of his own medicine. And Gachagua is easily turning out to be a lovable individual. He was totally hated, by the way, prior to this. Most people thought he was an idiot, but somehow he's starting to make a lot of sense. And that's how politics work, you know. You could be the least hated, but you could be the most hated, but suddenly people start coalescing around your message. So he's really doing the messaging very, very well. Including the day he left the hospital. He did a wonderful job.
And that caused him to be invited to write a statement by the DCI.
But the DCI, they're not serious. He already said he made a report. Can they tell us what they did with the report before they summon him? So I don't think he needs to. He did a good thing not to show up. I think the DCI is not serious. I mean, how many things are they not investigating? All these people that have disappeared.
This is the life of the second in command.
He reported. What have they done since he reported?
And even Kenyans, you know, are questioning. Okay, now that Rigathi Gachagua says that NIS people are involved, how do you identify an NIS person?
I mean, he's a member of the National Security Council, so I'm sure he has more information than we all do. So if the fact that the people who are supposed to be in charge of our security agencies can do that, if it's indeed true, then he doesn't need to show up before any investigative agency. He can report to the people. That's a much better way of reporting these alleged crimes.
Dr. Isaac, the second attack on President Ruto by the impeached deputy president Rigathi Gachagua.
I'm not very sure whether Wakili Morara is part of the legal team for deputy president.
He filed a petition actually seeking to declare that. He actually filed a petition seeking to have Rigathi Gachagua remain in office.
I think
he needs to recuse himself
from
this particular conversation.
Yes, exactly.
I think have someone to speak for him.
I think that's let me get back to the speeches from both quarters, the president and the impeached deputy president. I think it is good for the president to say we need national cohesion, we need peace in this country is essential for us, because I always tell people, if you think peace is not anything that has benefit to you, go and look at our neighboring countries, the way they live, and they are part of the people who are suffering in neighboring countries as refugees. So peace is also the ultimate goal in this nation. And if the president says, let's build cohesion and let's have communities admitting each other or accommodating each other and ensuring that they have this. But when I go to the impeached deputy president's speech, I'll take it in two perspectives. One, he's trying to look for sympathy from both the president and Kenyans in regards to the status that he is in at the moment. Secondly, he's trying to tell Kenyans that whatever they have done, because he's part of the people who have crafted all the things that we hear now is a negative thing that he's talking about. He was part of it. And if he was part of it, and now at this point when he's out, he thinks it is not the right thing,
but even
then he's not
President William Ruto,
he's not very sincere with us.
President William Ruto, while he served as Uhuru Kenyatta's deputy, also appeared to distance himself from what the Uhuru government had done, including the issue of deaths, because they were together since 2013 to 2022.
There are some
but
issues.
Today, President William Ruto has continued to blame the former regime for the predicaments, while he also participated in approving the same.
Chacha, I think it is good to understand two things. One, when you are in the presidency and you are both holding the office, both the president and his deputy are holding the office, because they are part of, it's a collective responsibility, and therefore we cannot disown it at that particular point. But when you say that,
but Gachagua says
let me get this point.
He's a student of President Ruto.
Yes.
So whatever Ruto did, he can also do it.
Perfect. But let's pick one thing from here. During the tenure of President Uhuru, and his deputy president, current president Ruto, there are contentious issues that deputy president refused. For example, the BBI, he has never supported it. You remember what happened in Bomas?
The first time they were together.
You remember what happened in Bomas? You remember what happened in Bomas? Both of them had their speech, and you know what conversation has taken place in Bomas. And therefore, there are critical things that he distanced himself from the onset of its initiation. So I think that one I agree. But when you look at issues that we have never seen the deputy president disputing during his time when he was in office, if you start disputing now, you means then you are not very sincere to us.
At least now he has disputed Adani before. Adani
yes, that's fine. But now you know, now he's looking at the mercy from the general public.
Emotions.
Exactly. There's nothing else he's doing.
On Gachagua and President Ruto's message on
just
Sunday.
Before he takes, I forgot one thing. If the deputy president, because Wakili said when he was leaving the hospital, he spoke very well. It is governance. You know, it's not right for a deputy president to say there was a trial of his to his life, you know, the death of his life by poisoning him. He was in the system. Why did he not question and investigate all those issues at that particular time? Why is he waiting when he was impeached and he's out? I think all those things are things that are being crafted to look for sympathy from the public. And I don't think if Deputy President will going to get that.
Maliba, just to loosely translate this, maybe Rigathi Gachagua's message in Swahili will be tuombe huyu Ruto. You know, sorts of actually pitting the president as someone who has so many problems that can only be solved spiritually.
That's not what he's saying. If you've been in this country and on the political front for a while, you will know that he's pandering to all stereotypes. There was the longest time of one of the political players being from the, let me call it the spiritual left, or on the darkness side of spirituality. So when he says, let us pray for the president, he's simply saying that the president is captive of Raila Odinga. He's been bewitched by Raila Odinga. Those are all stereotypes. We've been in this country and we know what that is. That is for purposes of whipping up emotions, riling the base, and everything else he's spoken so far. The former deputy president had enough time. Remember, he was a deputy president when a trial was made on his life. Did he have
He's still a deputy president.
Well,
by virtue of the court orders.
Well, the Senate.
Let's speak factually.
The Senate decision has not been impeached.
It has been stayed.
No, it has been stayed.
I'm saying it has not been impeached, and I've used the word impeached deliberately. The Senate Act that removed him has not been impeached.
The decision has been stayed.
I am saying the decision has been stayed. What does staying mean?
It means
so if we are staying the decision,
explain what it means, because
what it means, I think that issue is very critical. What it means is, when you stay there's a resolution, we go back to where we were prior to the process,
so
until the courts make a decision on whether the impeachment was in accordance with the Constitution. He's still the deputy president. You may use the word impeach. The only thing you may be allowed to say, the impeached deputy president. So but he still remains the deputy president of the Republic.
So you cannot be impeached.
You cannot. Set aside the conservatory orders will be held tomorrow at 10 a.m. So we are waiting to see.
Well, just remember that impeachment is a political process. So let the court do its thing. But impeachment is a political process. So we cannot use the impeached deputy president and still insist that he is substantive. You cannot be substantive and still use the term impeached.
So who is Kithure Kindiki then?
He's deputy president elect or designate.
So no longer cabinet secretary interior.
That is for the cabinet.
He was for a few minutes.
For the secretary.
Sorry?
That is for the secretary cabinet affairs to actually answer. But as far as we know, Professor Kithure Kindiki is actually the deputy president designate.
So he is no longer the interior cabinet secretary.
No,
I will not respond to that. The cabinet affairs secretary, Mercy Wanjau, can actually answer to that. But I know that Kindiki Kithure is actually.
So as UDA, how do you refer to Kindiki at the moment? He's
actually the incoming deputy party leader.
So is. Okay, now that you've actually brought that conversation.
So can I finish on the other side?
Then we come to the issue of whether the nomination of Kithure Kindiki violated UDA's constitution, where you need first of all to be the deputy party leader, then become the deputy president. Proceed.
So number one, the former deputy president is actually...
The impeached
deputy president is actually working with the old stereotypes. This idea of trying to call Raila, Muganga and the other things no longer washes for Kenyans. It doesn't work. Two, even as he does this, DCI actually invited him to give them more information so that they can act on it. Because apparently, up to them, they don't know. When he said he reported, where did he report? Remember, he never told us where he reported to. So he was invited. There is a Kenyan citizen. People made an attempt on a Kenyan citizen who, at that particular point, was actually Kenya's number 2 in leadership. So he was invited. He didn't show up. That is his choice. We cannot play around with that or probably go make issues out of that. But let's just say the truth. The deputy president is outfoxed. The former deputy president is outfoxed. The impeached deputy president is actually outfoxed. And it's just important that he accepts that particular place. Because I looked at a clip that he had spoken in Kikuyu, and then there's the English one. If you look at the two, there is a proper dichotomy, as in on to what he means and what he really wants to do. So if he's going to start distancing himself from government decisions now, but then, you cannot compare Deputy President William Ruto and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, because Deputy President William Ruto then was simply, any activity was taken away from him. So what was he left to do? Was to go around, and that's why they gave him the word Tanga, was to go around and inspect what the government is doing.
Gachagua was removed from a WhatsApp group, and a
WhatsApp group is not a responsibility. His responsibilities, he had responsibilities given.
He couldn't access the president's diary. He said that in his own words.
Chacha, I don't know how old you are, but if you have never been removed in a WhatsApp group, then probably you have not lived properly as a millennial or a Gen Z.
But that meant actually him not accessing the president's diary. Yes, so when you try to compare President Ruto, while he
had his own roles, were his roles taken away. There is no executive order, unlike in William Ruto's case, where there was an executive order taking away his roles and giving it to Dr. Matiang'i. He had clear roles given to him. Were they taken away? No.
Here what was being done, Maliba, is that during President William Ruto's function, while Rigathi Gachagua was not aware of a certain event, a seat will be put there to portray him as a very...
Will you buy into that? if you buy into that propaganda, do you really think that a person of the deputy president wouldn't know? Even we outsiders, you in the media, would know where the president is going. And the person of the deputy president doesn't know where the president is going. You are here in the media.
Couldn't access the president's diary. That's what he said.
When you prepare your editorial plans for the following day, you know even where the president will be. You, Chacha, at K24 would know, even has an idea where the president is likely to be next week.
Maybe knowing was not the problem, facilitation.
And you plan. And you plan accordingly. No. Do we have a case where his budget was actually done away with? No. Has he been paying power like William Ruto would pay power at his current house? Has he been paying for his own water? Has he been paying for his own fuel like William Ruto will do during his last time? As we speak about this, you cannot compare Deputy President William Ruto and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. It's not the same.
Maybe just help us do the comparison. That's from Maliba.
You can't compare the two.
And at some point, while Gachagua has been accused of attacking the NIS boss, he also said that President Ruto at one point did the same.
And you have the videos. You should play them. You should play the videos of the president saying very, very unprintable words.
He's a student of President Ruto.
And he is.
A student is standing on his shoulder.
He was following. He was following what the teacher was doing.
Not all students stand out like their teachers.
And we saw it.
Get better than the teachers.
Most of them get worse.
In fact, in my opinion, what he said during when the Gen Zs impeached Parliament back in June, it was okay for him to criticize the National Intelligence Service. I mean, they are not immune. Are we saying Nuruddin Haji is some god who cannot be criticized? It's totally, I don't know. I don't understand why we want to put him on a pedestal where he cannot be criticized. Anyone can be criticized as long as you're a human being. So what Gachagua said at that point, to me, I have no problem with it at all, because he was saying maybe the government should have listened. That's what he was saying, that they should have listened, or the intelligence should have collected the reports to know what the young people were saying. And that information did not even need the intelligence services, by the way, to collect. It was known to anybody who was paying attention to what was happening. They were in the churches. They were out there in the streets 2 days a week. Are you saying that the president was so disconnected that he could not really get the message? or Nurdin Haji could not tell what was happening in the country. So I don't see, honestly, anything that can come out of that kind of a criticism. But coming back to...
Wakili.
Yes, Daktari.
Chacha, I think Wakili should not mislead. You know, we are not in the bench where you are justifying a case
for your client.
For your client. Because ideally, when you are a deputy president or you are principal assistant to someone, and you speak behind that particular person, you are not.
It's not a best practice in leadership.
Best practice in governance and leadership.
And in politics, that is suicide.
So I would like to hear you criticize the president.
We will criticize the president.
Also.
We are now talking about the deputy
when he was deputy.
What did he do?
You know
how he behaved, how he spoke about the
good. There is a rule of cause and effect.
1 minute. You know, we are different from the impeached deputy president and the president, because the deputy president is the custodian of the president's diary, and therefore, if he exposes issues related to national security, and yet he is the one who is supposed to keep it, who was he telling? Why should he tell the public? Why shouldn't he just call the president and say, "Sir, I'm seeing this is not going well," in the boardroom? And then the president and him discuss, and they summon the Director General of National Intelligence Service. That's the best practice. What we are saying is that for us who are outside, we could criticize the government, we could criticize the president, we cannot criticize National Security Intelligence Service.
No problem.
Because we rarely get...
focusing on
the president. Let him answer. Yes, I would like you to answer the
I'm trying to come there. So when Gachagua says that it is the failure of the National Intelligence Services that has led to the current crisis and young Gen Zs breaking the parliament, that is not right. What role did he play in terms of ensuring that that doesn't happen? Because he seems to have more information than the National Intelligence Services. So that's what I'm trying to bring out. Yes, Wakili, go ahead.
The current president, when he was deputy, he did the same thing.
No.
He criticized
He did do the same
BCI.
thing.
He actually used very insulting words.
Because they deal with daily crime incidents and they investigate it.
Can we demystify? Can we demystify this particular issue? Number one, there was no single day when Deputy President William Ruto spoke on the back of President Uhuru Kenyatta. There was no day, and President Uhuru Kenyatta never accused William Ruto of insubordination. There was no time.
Just to go back to what Rigathi Gachagua said yesterday.
Yes.
Should he lie that the health sector is not ailing? Should he say it's okay while it's not okay?
Has he just discovered now after he was impeached?
He was in charge.
That's the question.
He's a truthful man. At that point, while he called for Kenyans to pray for President Ruto,
a truthful man,
and in fact went ahead to cite why he believes Ruto needs prayers. An ailing economy.
Chacha, I'll tell you this.
A sick health system.
Chacha, when every Kenyan was complaining about the state of the economy, he was obsessed with shares. When the rest of us were concerned with the governance and the development of the country, he was concerned with Murima. When the rest of us were concerned with the direction of the country, he was obsessed with WhatsApp groups and appointments for his own people and friends.
I believe many secrets come out during
look,
divorce.
Kenyans, look at this, look at this. Chacha,
when
Chacha, wait.
Breaking up,
Chacha, wait.
Let's say another money, but that's when we'll get to know.
Chacha, wait. Chacha, wait. Kenyans tell this truth every day without being impeached. Kenyans tell this truth without being in church. Kenyans say these things every day and they advocate for good governance. And by the way, the struggle for good governance and national development is not the burden of those who are doing activism alone. It is the burden for everybody to bear, both those in government and those who are checking on government. It's for all of us to...
Okay,
so
Maliba,
his criticism
do you feel
is not special.
There is need now for Ruto to address the issues that Gachagua raised?
The president has been working on it when his principal assistant is sitting aside to criticize. He was supposed to be giving the president support on that. What you should be asking him is what did he do while he was the principal assistant.
We take a short commercial break. When we
was
come
he
back,
waiting to actually come and criticize?
I will actually be playing the exact lips of what Rigathi Gachagua said and what President William Ruto said during the church service in Gishu County. Keep the conversation going via social media platforms at K24 TV, at Joel Church, as well on SMS and WhatsApp numbers on the bottom of your screens. Arnold Maliba did not answer my question of whether Kithure Kindiki is the Interior Cabinet Secretary. You can still respond quickly. Who is Kithure Kindiki? Interior CS?
He is the Deputy President designate.
So
and the incoming party
Interior
leader for
CS
UDA
position is vacant.
Of course, definitely, we will actually have somebody fill in.
Well, we take a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
The biggest reggae and rhythm show ever on Kenyan television. You have a ganja man and you wanna forget.